The Auburn Tigers return home to take on UL Monroe in a non-conference showdown. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between the Tigers and the Warhawks. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole Thompson. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. We're brought to you by our friends over at MyBookie. Go to mybookie.ag. Use promo code SECU at sign up to receive a special welcome offer on your first deposit. Again, that's mybookie.ag, promo code SECU to get that special welcome offer today. The Auburn Tigers look to get back in the win column as they welcome Louisiana Monroe to the Plains Jordan-Hare Stadium, or Jordan-Hare, as it's better known as, correcting myself already as we get into this preview. Auburn and UL Monroe doing battle. I am Chris Phillips. He is Cole Thompson, helping me break down this game. Cole, what's going on, my friend? And we're already off to a hot start as I have to remind myself that it is Jordan, not Jordan. That's one of those things I learned back early in the season. I'm already forgetting somehow.
Here we are. Do not let the Barners hear you say Jordan-Hare Stadium. It's Jordan, and it's
I'm gonna start typing it with an E because I look at it and my brain doesn't compute it. So I might just start typing it with an E for my own records. But either way, how are you, friend? Good to see you.
Listen, I'm excited to break down this game. Hi, Auburn Nation. Are you excited to have me on the broadcast? Because of apparently all I do is talk mad crap about how your team is masquerading as a bad program. You know what I find really funny, Chris? And I swear this is the only jab I'm going to take on the show today. I promise you, Auburn fans. But I once said after you heard Hugh Freeze mention that we would beat that team 9 times out of 10. It's the ultimate loser mentality. How funny that ULM is playing against Auburn. ULM, ultimate loser mentality. It's just so funny how things seem to go my way. But Auburn, this is your shot. You got to get 3 to go to bowl eligibility. You got to win out. Can't get started. Because here's the best part. General Booty has been honorably discharged for the Warhawks and probably is not going to be suiting up in this game. But here's the best part of all. This is a game where if somehow, some way Louisiana Monroe wins, they get full eligibility. And how great would that be for another team, another G5 school to prove their value at Jordan-Hare Stadium? Maybe, just maybe, Chris, and this is just my 2 cents thinking, the quarterback this time that comes on into Jordan-Hare as a G5 opponent finds their way to stick around on the Plains and doesn't come back next year as an SEC rival to go ahead and beat Hugh Freeze. Just 2 cents in the word.
Yeah, I was going to say, at least it's not Diego Pavia that's rolling in. That's
sweet Lord. He's already faced him once this year. He doesn't need to again.
I know. We don't need another repeat of that. Again, Auburn, ULM. This is an 11:45 a.m. local time kickoff, SEC Network in Auburn, Alabama, again at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Cole, Auburn is a 24-point favorite in this game. The over-under set at 46. Auburn leads the all-time series 11-0 in the last time these two teams met. 2017, Auburn won that football game, I should say, 42-14. So, Cole, as we dive in this game, I've got to start with this. I wonder, what is Auburn's plan at the quarterback position? And that might be a strange place to start, but the way they were talking about it last week, coming out of the Vanderbilt game, the loss to Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt Commodores on the home field, they didn't say they were making a change, Cole, but they mentioned that kind of everything's on the table, right? Like, I think the quote was, I'm paraphrasing, but I think it was something like, we got to think about the big picture, right? It's crazy to think about the idea, Cole, that they could be potentially making a quarterback change at this point, because it's like, what have we been doing the rest of the season? I know you went Hank Brown the game against Arkansas. That was actually the game we were at on the Plains. You went Hank Brown. He was terrible. You ditched that idea after a half. It's been Peyton Thorne ever since. But do they dare switch quarterbacks again? I'm not even sure, Cole, coming out of the Vanderbilt game, I don't think that was their biggest problem. Their biggest problem was the coaching malpractice that they refused to give Jarquez Hunter the football. Yeah. Like, that was the bigger problem. What are we doing, man? Like, what are we doing at quarterback here? Are we gonna go into this game against Louisiana Monroe, the Warhawks, with drama at the quarterback position? Like, are we really gonna do that?
Well, here's something that I think that you also have to keep in consideration. He said everything moving forward, look at the bigger picture. So the bigger picture is, what do we do this offseason when it comes to the transfer portal? Because think about this for a moment. They're going to get Deuce Knight in there, bearing a last-second switch. He's now committed to Auburn. That's Hugh Freeze's guy. That is the person that he is hitching his wagon to probably be the solution, just like Billy Napier did with DJ Lagway. But you still have 2 quarterbacks on the roster, and Hank Brown and Holden Griner. Can one of them show you enough in a win against a Louisiana Monroe team where maybe Peyton Thorne starts the first half, and then in the second half, you're trying to figure out that optimism of, well, can one of these two maybe lead the team next year while we get Deuce Knight in? Do we bring in some competition where maybe we're getting Miami of Ohio quarterback, or maybe we're getting a Toledo quarterback, or we're getting someone from the G5 level that we don't have to pay an egregious amount to in NIL funds? Or are they going to look awful and we have to spend big? Do we have to go full Cam Ward 2.0 the way that Miami did, where we have to spend money in bringing in the premier player at the quarterback position? Because if we don't, well, then I'm not going to be here next year. There's going to be complete coaching turnover. And a lot of these recruits that we're telling are going to be a part of this program and be a part of the War Eagle family, they may start looking elsewhere. So I think that when you say big picture, Peyton Thorne's probably going to start this game. Based on what I've seen from Auburn this year, and I've said multiple times, I'm not crapping on you. Auburn Nation, War Eagle family, I actually like you. I think it's good for college football when Auburn is great at the sport. But you're masquerading as a bad team. You're really not that bad. You aren't. But I think that what you have to see is that this is a game where Peyton Thorne comes out early. The run game is potent early on. And then they turn to the 2 quarterbacks and figure out, well, if they struggle against Louisiana Monroe, we can't play them in 2025. We got to go in a different direction. We got to bring in a transfer quarterback. We can't just rely on Deuce Knight to be the dude moving forward. So let's look at it from how he said the big picture. It's more than just this season. There is a scenario where Auburn loses to Texas A&M, and at that point, they're just playing for shits and giggles for the Iron Bowl. Like, that's what we're talking about. So you have to figure out what is going to be your team moving forward, because it's a prove-it year in 2025 for Hugh Freeze. There is not going to be a lot of anything other than results, speak volume, and expectations through the roof on the Plains. Which, by the way, if you lose this game, we have to have another conversation, and one that I think a lot of people down on Tumor's Corner do not want to have.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Cole, this is a game that should be all about Auburn. And, you know, I know the path to 6 wins it feels virtually impossible at this point, because even if you were to somehow beat a Texas A&M, you got to go into Tuscaloosa and beat an Alabama, a place you haven't won since the comeback in 2010. And we see what Alabama just did this past weekend. So, but while it feels unlikely, the only way to get there, you got to win the first one. Like, you got to win this one, and you need to win this one convincingly and have something to feel good about going down the final stretch. I think they need to feed Jarquez Hunter. It's that simple to me. Like their offense is going to be operating its highest optimal capacity when they are giving the football to Jarquez Hunter. This cannot be another situation where it's, well, you know, man, he was gassed. Yeah. What does that even mean? He wasn't gassed. What does that mean? What are you talking about? People are assuming he's hurt, or because he's not playing, he gets 12 carries a week after he has like 280 rushing yards against a Kentucky front that we think is pretty decent. Like, it's crazy. It's the coaching malpractice at times from Hugh Freeze and his staff is crazy. So offensively, give the football to Jarquez Hunter. Do whatever else from there, fine. But start there. Build off that foundation. Defensively, Cole, they're going to be fine. DJ Durkin, that defense, they've dominated this season. It's really unfortunate, Cole. That's what's been lost because Auburn's been so bad. Their defense has been pretty good. That DJ Durkin has done a really good job. And I mean, again, against this Warhawks offense with Aiden Amenta, the starting quarterback, unfortunately, we don't get General Booty in this game. Maybe for Auburn, good thing you don't get General Booty in this game. I think that this is, and you look at the Warhawks, Cole, the last 3 weeks, they're losers of 3 straight. And in those games, they've scored 17 against Texas State, 23 against Marshall, and 17 against South Alabama. No knock on those teams, but this Auburn defense should be able to have their way with ULM. This should be another stout performance from DJ Durkin's side of the football.
Do you know how many yards Jarquez Hunter is averaging per play? Chris, just take a wild guess. Just humor me. What do you think?
Yards per play, yards per carry, correct?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 5.7.
6.9. Almost 7 yards a play. You know, this year, he has averaged
crazy.
over 5.6 yards per play in 5 different contests, and he has 3 games where he's averaged over 9 yards per play per contest. And yet we have to have a conversation about why are we not utilizing Jarquez Hunter more. He's number 2 in rushing despite only having 132 carries in the SEC this year. He's number 2 in carries behind Dylan Sampson. He is the most veteran running back in the conference. Let's throw that out there too. He's the most veteran running back who has played against this level and better competition for the last 3 years. And what's so funny is I feel like I'm living in deja vu year 2 underneath Brian Harsin, where they never want to use Tank Bigsby. They never want to use Jarquez Hunter. Just use the damn dude. Just use number 27 to set out the pass. And I get it. Peyton Thorne, you can go ahead and have 4 or 5 great throws downfield to Keandre Lambert-Smith, to Malcolm Simmons, to Perry Thompson, to Cam Coleman, and let that work in your favor. Rivaldo Fairweather, the cyborg, if he makes that acrobatic grab where it's nearly touching the ground and you pull it on up for a 30-yard gain, you'll appreciate that. But the thought that was so mind-boggling was how their defense played against Vanderbilt, how they were able to force Diego Pavia to live in 3rd and uncomfortable. And yet it didn't matter because the offensive execution was all predicated on dumb play calling, on overall overthinking, and eventually a loss to Baba Yaga at home. A game that I thought was going to be the case for a while. Run the damn football. Just run the damn football. And by the way, this season against G5 opponents, Chris, just against G5 opponents, he is averaging 9.9 yards per play, over 200 rushing yards, and he has 2 rushing touchdowns. Can you just not overthink this one? You have a plan. Jarquez Hunter can hit 1,000 yards this year, and you can feel really confident about at least that being your backbone of the team when you go face off against a Texas A&M squad, when you go face off against Alabama in the Iron Bowl, knowing that your ground game is there. I know the passing has got to be potent. I know you got to see a little bit more through the aerial attack. I understand that you want to watch as your young receivers get involved, but sometimes less is more, and putting yourself in a situation where all you got to do is just trust what you know with a ground game. You'll be fine. You're 3-6. You have to win out. Every win matters. This is one that you shouldn't overthink at all. 27 is your X factor. In fact, here's what I will say. Run, and do a little bit more running. If you ever saw that Penn State versus Michigan game last year, where they didn't throw the football and get the ball to J.J. McCarthy in the second half, it worked. Maybe take a play out of that book. A national championship winning program against a top 10 team when you're doing it against a G5 team. Maybe just do that. I think that that's a pretty good game plan.
And Cole, it's an opportunity, I think, for Auburn fans to feel good again, because I think you have to look at this. This may be the last win of the season, if we're being realistic. So, great reason to get out to the yard, get out to Jordan-Hare.
Real fast.
Yeah.
They are 58th in run defense, too. They are allowing 4.3 yards per play.
Against their competition.
Against
their level of competition. And again, we've seen...
I swear.
We've seen UL Monroe one other time, Cole, or we've talked about them one other time facing an SEC opponent. That was in week 3. They played at Texas and lost that game 51-3. I know Auburn's not Texas, but still, they struggled in their last game or their only other game against SEC competition. Again, like we mentioned, go ahead.
How many yards do you think they allowed on the ground in that game?
I could cheat and tell you, but let me say 250.
239 and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
On the ground.
And that was week 3.
I'm going to let this sink in.
Yeah.
Auburn.
Yeah.
239 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground. Let that sink in.
What's the meme? Bringing in the sink. Let that sink in. Again, Aiden Armenta for ULM. At the quarterback position, no general booty in this football game. He's thrown 7 touchdowns, 6 picks. Ahmad Hardy, pretty good player at the running back position, 916 yards rushing, 5.6 yards per carry, has 9 touchdowns. And their leading receiver is Devin Wells, only 232 yards receiving. So they lean on the running game themselves, But again, like I mentioned, should be a great opportunity for DJ Durkin, their defense, to continue to do what they've done all year, which is play really well. Cole, that being said, let's go ahead and get in our predictions for this game. I'll let you start. Auburn, ULM. How do you see this one playing out Saturday at Jordan-Hare Stadium?
It's ULM. And I'm not trying to be rude with this one. I'm really not. And it's not General Booty. But again, you watch as DJ Durkin's defense has taken a step forward. For a unit that was very flawed at the very beginning of the year, they ranked 17th in run defense. They ranked top 50 in pass defense. They ranked top 20 in scoring defense. And they ranked top 30 in yards allowed. They have regrouped, reassessed, really in conference play, starting in that Oklahoma game. I know they lost, but it wasn't the defense's fault, to say the least. They've done their job. And they've made things uncomfortable for teams. They made things uncomfortable for Diego Pavia. They made things uncomfortable for Michael Hawkins. They made things uncomfortable for Brock Vandegrift. They were able to capitalize. It's time for Hugh Freeze just to get back to the basics. Sometimes boring and bland is not going to be for everyone, but it works. And you want to know what boring and bland also does, Chris Phillips? It keeps you employed. It keeps you in the driver's seat. It keeps you back for another year. And I'm not saying that Hugh Freeze is going to be on any hot seat this year. Everyone knows this. He's going to be back in 2025. Even if they don't go to a bowl game this year, he's going to be feeling the pressure. There will be very few coaches in the SEC that are starting to get a little bit more sweaty the way he is. Billy Napier probably saving his job this year is the only caveat in this. But still, being boring works. This message is simple. Run the football, run it to the left, run it to the right, get a deep shot down the field to Cam Coleman, make him happy, and show Auburn Nation why he is the future of your program through the air. Get the other two quarterbacks involved. That way you get to figure out what is your MO moving forward into the transfer portal period. Because I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You're probably going 5-7 or 4-8 on the year. You are. So get this win, end it on a high. Make sure that you put yourself in a prime position to where you're not allowing a secondary quarterback to come on in. Capitalize. Let Jarquez Hunter hit a thou and go ahead and get a win. I'm going to go Auburn. I know that people think I hate Auburn, but I don't. I want Auburn to be good. I want there to be a standard, a true standard set. This is the standard that I think that you make. I'm going to go 38-10 final score. You know what? I'll even be a little bit nicer. 41-10 final score. You get a great performance. You watch as Peyton Thorne doesn't have a turnover, and Jarquez Hunter finds way to the end zone 3 times. 41-10 final score. The Warhawks, they are silenced as they have to wave the white flag in defeat at Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Cole, the thing that intrigues me about this game is specifically, do we see a different quarterback in this game, not named Peyton Thorne? The way they've been teasing it, talking about it, we got to look at the bigger picture. I think that's interesting. I agree with you that feed Jarquez Hunter, man. Don't overthink this. Just don't overthink this at all. With the way he's been running the football, I mean, the numbers you brought up are crazy. Like, I didn't know that. Those numbers are crazy. And it really, again, speaks to the malpractice that happened in that Vandy game. I keep going back to that, but it really does speak to that. Two different types of athletes in the field on Saturday. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this one, or I'll spare you with the dramatics. Two different types of athletes. I mean, again, I think even with the struggles Auburn's had, and maybe Cole will see some folks this week saying, oh, you never know, man, like the upset. Like you said, it's weird because it's like Auburn's not just a terrible team. Like, the numbers reflect that. I think they're top 50 in both offense and defense. They're even like top 25 in defense. So, I mean, they're not a bad football team. They've just been doing a lot of things that bad football teams do. The good news this weekend is that a team like Louisiana Monroe, all due respect, they probably don't have, and I would say certainly don't have, the pieces in place to take advantage and make you pay for those kind of things. I don't think those little issues that become big things in conference play will become big things against a G5 Warhawks team. So I think it's a fun day on the Plains. I think coming out of the bye week, I think Auburn will be, and they tend to, Cole, what's funny, they tend to beat up on these kind of teams. But when they get into conference play, it's just a different story. So they did that early in the year. I think they'll do it again. I think it's a fun day on the Plains for the Tigers. Give me Auburn 42, Louisiana Monroe 7. I think Jarquez Hunter's going to run wild. I think the defense, DJ Durkin's defense, is just going to be suffocating. And I think Louisiana Monroe, for the second time this season, is going to struggle against an SEC foe. And this might be Auburn's last one of the season, so you better do it in style.
Christian, you want to know what I feel like Auburn is at this point? It's a rebellious teenager that comes from a good home that just got into the wrong crowd. We know that they're good. We know that their intentions are true, but somehow they just keep finding ways to end up in the principal's office. That's your two underneath Hugh Freeze. They're a good kid. They're just rebelling against their family at the wrong time in life.
And we'll see if they can get the job done against the Warhawks on Saturday. Guys, do you agree with us? Do you disagree? How do you see this one playing out when Auburn and Louisiana Monroe do battle at Jordan-Hare Stadium? Guys, that's going to do all for us. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole Thompson. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will catch you on the other side.